Hello, my name is Simon from CramTheExam and welcome to another video where I walk you through another English exam question explaining what the answers are and why I think the answers are the answers. In this video we're going to have a look at a CAE Advanced Listening Part 3 question, a multiple choice question, and this question you can find on the excellent website examenglish.com. If you haven't checked out examenglish.com, I recommend that you do. There are plenty of wonderful resources, not just for the CAE, but lots of other English exams as well. There's a link to this exercise and to examenglish.com in the video description below. Okie dokie, let's go through the questions and I'll explain why the answers are the answers, at least why I think they are, and we'll do this by having a look at the script of the listening. So let's go straight to question number 1, just up here. Brian likes Birmingham because, and you've got 3 options. It's provided him with a steady income, it's where he grew up, it's where he first became famous. Now, he talks about where he lives. It's not far from where I live, but there's no indication that this is where he grew up, just that he lives close by. Is it where he first became famous? No, he says, I've got some great memories of here, back in the 90s, but it's not just, it doesn't say that he became famous here. He does say at the beginning, it certainly has, in response to the question, which is Birmingham's done well for you over the years, hasn't it? Which means that Birmingham has been a good place for you. And Brian says, it certainly has. It's paid my mortgage, definitely. Now, this is a tricky question. And the reason is you have to understand how a mortgage works in order to get the question correct. And a mortgage is something that you pay off over time, as I'm sure you're aware. So it might be 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, however long the mortgage might be. So the idea is that you're getting income over that time, a steady income over that time. And that's why the answer is the first option here. It's provided him with a steady income. For question number 2, it says, when they discuss children's participation in panto, Brian says that he prefers children not to come up on stage. It's important to get the parents' permission if a child wants to participate. He thinks that children's participation adds a certain quality to the show. So he prefers children not to come up on stage. It says here, some theatres don't like the kids to come up on stage anymore, but I think that's a shame, especially now I've got kids of my own. So the idea is that he doesn't agree. He disagrees with this sentence. He thinks it's a shame. He thinks that the kids should come up on stage. It's important to get the parents' permission if a child wants to participate. It says here, is get the parents to come down, stand in the aisles. And if there's a rowdy kid is a kid who's behaving in an overexcited manner, someone who's being noisy, perhaps troublesome. It says, we bring the parent up. And that puts the onus on the parent to keep the kid in check, in other words, to keep control of the child. So there's nothing here about asking permission, so it's not that middle answer. He thinks that children's participation adds a certain quality to the show, and he says exactly that. But I like all that participation, in other words, the children and adult participation. It's what gives it, in other words, the show, energy and makes it live. So in other words, this energy and this making it live is adding the certain quality to the show, and that's why the answer is this one here. For question number 3, according to Brian, the advantage of panto is that all the actors can change their lines to reflect current events. No, because he says about that, and that's something only I can do as the comedy character. So it's not the correct answer. The qualities required in panto match his talents. The vocabulary link is here. It plays to my strengths, It plays to my strengths. Your strengths in this context is what you're good at. What you're good at is your talent. So that's the vocabulary link there, and it's why the answer is correct. It gives him the chance to play a comedy character. There's nothing on here about giving him the chance to do something. He simply says that he is the comedy character. So the correct answer is the middle option here. For question number 4, Brian became involved in comedy because he had wanted to do it since he was a child. Certainly he talks about being on stage when he was 2, but there's no explicit or even contextual link to say, this is what I always wanted to do since I was a child. Did his friends at school encourage him to do it? No, he talks about school in the context of his writing being bad, so as a result of that, he became the class clown, the school joker. There's nothing there about being encouraged by his friends at school. But he does say at the end, comedy came later. When I started doing clubs when I was 17, in other words, performing in clubs, I found that you get paid more for doing comedy than you do singing. So given the context of the article about doing comedy and being involved in comedy and why it is that you want to do that, this is the correct answer, because that he gets paid more for doing comedy than for singing, and that links to he found he could earn more by doing comedy. For question number 5, it says, what does Brian say about providing comedy for corporate events? He says it's easy because the audience has a lot to drink. No, because it actually says they've got lots of free alcohol and they get boozed up, and as a result, it's a tough crowd. So it's not that it's easy that the audience have had a lot to drink, it's actually more difficult because the audience have had a lot to drink. He has learnt to respond to comments from the audience. Yes, he's got here. I've learnt to handle it over the years and I've got an answer for every situation now. So handle it is, when he says I've learnt how to handle it, this is about the comments from the tough crowd who have had all of that alcohol. So this is the vocabulary link to the middle answer, and it's the only way for many comedians to find work. He doesn't say that. He says that some famous comedians don't know how to handle it, whereas he has learnt how to handle it. So not that it's the only way for comedians to find work. We don't have that vocabulary link. And so lastly, for question number 6, which is, what does Brian feel with regards to nerves? The correct answer is that he agrees with a comment someone made early in his career. And the reason why is because of what he says at the beginning. A guy once said to me that it doesn't get any easier. And then later on he says, but I realise that he was right. So first of all, he disagreed. And then after a period of years and some experience, he says that the guy's comment was correct. And that's a clear vocabulary link to say that he agrees with a comment someone made earlier in his career. And there we go. That's why I think the answers are the answers. If you would like me to explain in any more detail, or if you want me to explain something in a different way, or if you've got any other questions, or indeed if you disagree with me, then please leave a comment below in the comments and I will get back to you. I love having that discussion with you guys. And remember that if you're studying for your CAE exam using one of the more popular course books, then check out my my online course, CramTheExam.com, where I might be able to help you out with that. Okay, I'll see you again soon.